All right, I found where this is on YouTube. So now I can see myself doing stuff. I hope. See if I put a little smiley face, I'll see it. All right, waiting. Oh, I'm super delayed. Okay, that's fine. All right, so welcome to quarantine long distance math tutorials featuring your favorite teacher, Mr. Ellis. All right, so today we're looking at prisms and cylinders, volume thereof. So if you don't already, grab something to write with, something to write on, and a calculator if you've got one. All right, so volume is basically how much space something takes up, and every 3D figure takes up some amount of space. So if we start with a prism, which is what this is. My cursor goes away when I start to write. That doesn't help. All right, that's okay. So prism has two bases and is connected by this height here. That's our key for knowing what a prism is. Our formula for volume of a prism is V equals big B times H, where you remember that big B is the area of the base. So it's similar to surface area in that we need to look at what shape the base is. We need to find the area of the base. But then it's a little bit simpler because once we have that, then it's just a matter of multiplying it by the height of the whole thing, and then you're done. So this won't be too bad. If you can do surface area, you can do volume, no problem. Okay? So let's look at the most basic scenario here. So here is a rectangular prism, and we say volume equals area of the base times height. And we can say our base is this right here on the bottom. So this 6x4 rectangle. And it even splits it up into cubes because when we do volume, we measure it in cubic units. So it's literally how many of these little cubes will it take to create the entire shape. Okay? So anytime I do this, I'm always going to draw the base on its own. So I don't have to think about it three-dimensionally. I'm going to label it 6x4. And then I'm going to make a note before I do anything else that my height, where do I want to put this? Let's put it right here. Height equals 2. Which means I can substitute into my volume formula, H is 2. So now I need area of the base. So I need the formula for what is the area of this shape. And since it's a rectangle, a rectangle's area is just base times height. Or, in this case, just 6 times 4. Write out the whole formula every time. We do some calculations. 6 times 4 is 24. So there's our area of the base. Bring it back over here. We take 24 times 2, and we get a volume of 48 units to the third power. And there's our whole problem. Okay? The reason why I do this separately, because if you look at it, this can get a little bit confusing. Like you have this height here, and then you have this height here. And they mean separate things. So in volume, the height is talking about the height of the entire prism. This height down here is the height of just the base. So we need to be able to tell the difference between the height of the prism and the height of the base. And if you draw it separately, It's not that big of a deal, I would hope. Alright, let's try another one. Or actually, you try one. So take a second. See if you can come up with what is the volume of this shape here. Or if you're watching the video, you can just pause it and take all the time you want. And I'm just going to write some stuff down. I'm going to draw a rectangle. I'm going to write out some formulas. And then I'm going to sit here and drink some water, because it's important to stay hydrated. Hope everyone is doing well, not driving their parents insane. And interact with these people talking. I know, right? What's the good word? I'm so bored I'm watching him do algebra. LOL. Right? Got bad news for you. We might be in this for a while. You might be stuck watching me do math for a couple weeks. Alright. What do we got here? So here is our prism. So I'm going to say this is my base right here, which makes the height of my prism this number there. So I drew my base already. I'm going to say the height is 3, and then the dimensions on my base are 5 by 2. Okay, so I'm going to substitute that in here. So B equals 5 times 2, or B equals 10. So I put that one right here. And then I know the height of the prism is 3. So I multiply those together and I get a volume of 30 inches cubed. Not too bad. Okay? But a rectangular prism is a little bit special. How so, you ask? Let's see. What if we switch some numbers around? Because a rectangular prism is just all rectangles. So what if I wanted to say my base is this guy over here? Okay? So if that's my base, I've got 3 by 2 here, and then the height of the whole thing would be 5. And we're going to see, will that change our answer? So we got a height of 5. Area of the base would be 3 times 2, which is 6. And then 6 times 5 is 30 inches cubed. It's the exact same answer. So if you're doing volume of a rectangular prism, it does not matter which rectangle you choose to be your base, because you will get the exact same answer no matter what. Nothing to it. Alright, but it can't always be easy. What if we take it a step further? What if we have a triangular prism? Well, our formula is still the same. Still area of the base times height. This time, we don't get to choose. If it's a triangular prism, then the base has to be a triangle. Doesn't matter what's on the bottom, right? If it's a triangular prism, the base is a triangle. So we're going to label this one 7 by 11. I know the height is this number that represents how far it is from one triangle or one base to the other. So H is going to be 14. And then down here, when I'm finding area of the base, it's going to be a little bit different. Area of a triangle is half base times the height. And I know base and height of a triangle always meet at a right angle. Okay, so here's my right angle, so I know base and height have to be 7 and 11. And since I don't want to do half of 7 times 11, I'm going to take out a calculator here. And I'm just going to do 7 times 11 times 0.5. And I'm going to get an area of the base, 38.5. And then I can substitute my values in. So there's my area of the base. My height we said was 14. So very last step, we just have to do 38.5 times 14. And that gets us 500. Let's move this out of the way a little bit. 539. Pick up our units, no naked numbers. Meters cubed. All right. So the only thing that changed was we have a different formula for area of the base, but that's it. So triangular prism, not that much more difficult. Unless they try to trick you, like our next example here. So we still have a triangular prism, still V equals big B times H. Our base is still the triangle. So here it is. I'm still going to draw it the same way I did last time, because this is how I draw all my right triangles. And so I have this number 15 that's opposite the right angle. I don't know anything else, but I do have this triangle down here, and it shows me that one of the legs is 9. And then the height of the whole thing is 6. So if I'm doing, scroll down a little bit here. If I want to find area of the base, I've got 1/2 base times height. Now I have the height of the triangle, but we said it has to meet at a right angle, which means I need this side here, which I don't have just yet. But since it's a right triangle, we know from Pythagorean theorem, which says a squared plus b squared equals c squared, that I can find the missing side of a right triangle if I know the other two. So I know one short side is 9 squared. I don't know the other, but I know c squared is 15. So I square both of these. 9 times 9 is 81. 15 squared is 225. If you don't believe me, you can check your calculator. I want to get b squared by itself. I don't have my fancy calculator, so I can't use nsolve. So I'm just going to subtract 81 from both sides. And I'm going to get b squared equals 225 minus 81 is 144, which means that b equals the square root of 144, or b equals 12. So I know my missing side down here is 12. All this work is not necessarily necessary. Necessarily necessary, that's fun to say. Because hopefully you're starting to recognize 3, 4, 5 right triangles, which this is just an example of. Or if you do have a fancy calculator, you could use nsolve to calculate that, however you want to do it. But now we have all the information we need. We have 1/2 of 12 times 9. And I know half of 12 is 6, and 6 times 9 is 54, so I don't need a calculator for this one. So I can come back up here. So v equals 54 times, you said the height was 6. So then we just have to multiply these together. Just so I don't make a mistake, let's use the calculator. 45 times 6 is 324. And that is centimeters cubed. And that is triangular prisms. Nothing to it. Alright, so we got one shape left, which is cylinders, which seems like it might be more difficult, but it's actually the exact same thing. Our formula is still area of the base times the height, and this will be on your formula chart, or gives you the second formula, which is pi r squared times the height. Now what's the difference between these two? And the answer is nothing. Because all pi r squared is the formula for area of a circle. So it follows the same rules as prisms, but since every cylinder has a circular base, our volume is always going to be pi r squared times h. Okay, not too bad. This also means it's a lot more straightforward. So I can skip right ahead and say pi r squared times the height. I don't even need to draw the base separately because I only need one number from here. So I'm just going to substitute everything I can. So pi, I'm going to call 3.14. You can also use the pi button if your calculator has that. It'll change your answers a little bit, but not a big deal. The radius is 3.7. Don't forget to square that. You don't have corona. I'm confident you will be okay. Stay positive, buddy. And then our height is 4.8. Alright, so here's everything we need. Then it's just a matter of putting everything into the calculator. So we have 3.14 times 3.7 squared times 4.8. And we get 206.335. So we can say this is about 206.3 cubic feet. And that's the whole thing. So it's just a matter of you write the formula, and then you substitute all the numbers, and then you put everything into the calculator. And then we just double check 3.14 times. If you can't find the square button on your calculator, you can always just do times 3.7 times 3.7 again. Because when you square something, you're just multiplying by that number 2 times. Times, oh, I didn't clear everything out. Hold on, let's try this again. 3.14 times 3.7, or I missed a decimal point, times 3.7 again, times 4.8. Sure enough, same answer. Doesn't hurt to double check your work. Alright, let's try one more. So since cylinders are pretty straightforward, they have a tendency to skip the picture altogether and just give you words. So it says a cylinder with a diameter of 16, height of 5.1. So if they don't give you a picture, we'll say that's fine. I'm going to draw the picture myself. I'm going to draw a perfect cylinder. There it is. We're going to label it. This is now a cylinder of soup. What kind of soup is it? It's chicken noodle. And it is good soup. Okay, there it is. Perfect. Then we put in our numbers. So it says diameter is 16. That's a key word there, diameter. Height, 5.1. Okay. So the trick here, anytime it gives you diameter, is we need to find out what is the radius. And if the diameter goes all the way across the circle, radius will always be half of that. So in this case, our radius is 8. Okay. And then we just say volume equals pi r squared times the height. We substitute our numbers. So 3.14 times, what do we got? 8 squared times the height, which we said was 5.1. There it is. And then we just have to multiply it all together. So 3.14 times 8 squared times 5.1. We get 1024.89. Or we can just call it an even 1025. What's our unit? Centimeters cubed. And that's it. There's volume in a nutshell. Did it in half a class period. So you can spend the rest of your class period by following the instructions down here. Here's your homework. Might as well get it done now. Go get the Kahoot app. Sign in on your CCISD account. Go to that game code. There are 10 questions. They're all pretty easy. I got 100 on it, so I know they're all correct. And just answer them to the best of your ability. Okay? I will tell you that the answers on there, they use the pi button when we do cylinders. So the answers you see will be a little bit higher than what we would have gotten the way we did it. And by we, I mean me, because no one else is here right now. Okay? So I got 1025 for this last one. If this was the Kahoot, it would probably be closer to like 1030, right? So once you get your answer on the cylinders, you just pick the one closest to it, and you should be okay. All right, anyways, have fun with that. We'll be back maybe tomorrow to do some more. But until then, stay out of trouble, wash your hands, don't go near other people, and quit touching your face. Okay, bye.